Once upon a time, it was announced that Satan was going out of business and would sell all his tools, his equipments to those who are willing to pay the price. So, on the big day of the sale, Satan, he displayed all his tools, his equipment in an attractive manner. All demons, all the devils came to see it. Excitingly, what are the tools, equipments there? It was displayed with envy, jealousy, hatred, pride, deceit, lust, greed, and so on, given with the price tag in its tools. And it was also there, anger. Anger was also part of it. And that tool was the cheapest. It was only 10 rupees. Why? Because it is very simple and it's very common and everyone has this. It is very cheap. But in one corner, there was a tool which has been worn out, which is simple, which is plain and worn out, but with a high price. The price tag was so high that the customers asked Satan, why is it? And what that tool is. And so he said, that tool is discouragement. That tool is discouragement. And they inquired why the price is so high. Because it is worn out, it's a very old tool, a simple thing. But he replied, this is the tool that he's been using for a very long time. This is the tool when he uses it, when he cannot, when his schemes is not fruitful by using the other tools, the other equipments. It is the tool that he can slowly creep into the people's heart and mind and start the process to tempt them and to make them fall into temptation. The price is high because he continued to use it. And it is worn out because he used it for everyone. And he also further said that the tool is still with me. And many people doesn't realize or know that it belongs to Satan, the tool of discouragement. So discouragement is something that cripples our life, our daily activities, or many things such and such, and so on. And the same thing happened here in the lives of the people of Israel, which is mentioned here in Ezra chapter 4, verses 1 to 5. They were rebuilding the temple, and they faced so many obstacles, so many oppositions, and they were discouraged. So before we go further into these few verses that has been read out to us, I would like to bring a little background of this book of Ezra. The book of Ezra is a very interesting book. It talks about the lives of the Israelites where they were in exile and they returned back to their homeland in Jerusalem. Chapter 1 to 6 deals with the first generation of Israel that was in exile in the Babylon to return back to Israel under the leadership of Zerubbabel and Joshua. So nearly 50,000 people returned back to their homeland under the leadership of this Zerubbabel and Joshua. And chapter 7 to 10 describes and deals with the second group of exiles returning to their homeland in Israel under the leadership of Ezra. So the text that today that we're dealing with, Ezra is yet to come into the picture. it is the first generation, the first group of people that is being deported back to their own homeland after 70 years of exile in the Babylonian kingdom. And we look into the first chapter of this Ezra. The opening word of the book are almost exactly the same as the ending of the Second Chronicles. So we can say Ezra is a sequence of the Second Chronicles. Exactly. Because it says in Second Chronicles, the ending, that is chapter 36, Second Chronicles chapter 36, verse 23, it says, This is what Cyrus, king of Persia, said. The Lord, the God of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he has appointed me to build a temple for him at Jerusalem in Judah. Any of his people among you may go up, and may the Lord their God be with them. And this is the ending of Second Chronicles. And the Israel, started the same manner. In the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, in order to fulfill the word of the Lord spoken by Jeremiah, the Lord moved the heart of Cyrus, king of Persia, and to make a proclamation throughout his reign, and also to put it into writing. Verse 2, it says, This is what Cyrus, king of Persia, says, The Lord, the God of heavens, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and has appointed me to build a temple for him at Jerusalem in Judah. So this is a sequence of Second Chronicles. So let me bring it out here. It is dated back. It started with the word in the first chapter, the first verse. It says, in the first year of King Cyrus, king of Persia, that it says. So it is dated back to 539 BC. 539 BC. And let me remind ourselves here. The kingdom of Israel was divided into two, the northern kingdom and southern kingdom. And we know clearly that the Babylonian king, King Nebuchadnezzar, is the one that come and destroy Judah, the southern kingdom. And the temple was burned, it was burned into ashes. Everything was turned into ashes. And they have taken all the articles of the temple, all the belongings, and also they have taken into captives the people of Judah into Babylon. And here the story, the book of Israel begins with a new reign, with a new king. The Babylonian kingdom was overthrown by Persia. So King Cyrus came into the picture here, the Persian king. And the King Cyrus, the subjects of Nebuchadnezzar, it belongs to King Cyrus, the Israelites, the captives. And those who are being exiled in the Babylonian kingdom were the same captives of King Cyrus. And in this context, I would like to remind us here, the king brings out an edict, declarations that pass on into the people of Israel that were exiled there. So let me bring down this context of the King Cyrus edict. Jeremiah, he prophesies that the people of Israel, because of their disobedience, they will be exiled to a foreign nation for 70 years. 70 years has passed, and this prophecy is about to be fulfilled. And the Lord steers and also speaks to the hearts of King Cyrus so that the prophecy that has been foretold years ago can be fulfilled. So what was the edict? What was the declaration of King Cyrus? He offered all the captives to be deported back to their homeland, to be sent back to their homeland. And the verse 3, it says, to go back to their own homelands as well as to build the temple of Israel. And the second thing is verse 6, it says, to provide assistance in the form of gold and silver, goods and livestock and so on to the people of Israel so that they can go back and rebuild the temple that has been destroyed long ago. So here it was. The leader, the picture, the leader came where Zerubbabel and Joshua. It was calculated that Zerubbabel was the governor of that Judah, was assigned by King Cyrus, and Joshua was the high priest. And they entered the leadership. They lead back 50,000 Israelites back to Israel. And here the story goes on. Let me bring this out to all of us. When they started the journey, it was full of blessings. It was full of promises. Provisions come to them, assistance comes to them, and so on. Let me read out verse 7. King Cyrus, he edicted this. He said, moreover, King Cyrus brought out the articles belonging to the temple of the Lord, which Nebuchadnezzar had carried away from Jerusalem and has placed in the temple of his God. All the articles, all the things that is used in the temple were kept in Nebuchadnezzar's God's temple. And King Cyrus is the one that bring back and give them. Not only that, so many articles, so many wealth, gold and silver, livestock and goods were gifted to him. Nebuchadnezzar and to Joshua. Things were going so well. They must be at peace. They must be overjoyed. They must be happy with this prophecy that comes into them. The story is good. The beginning is good. It's a blessing. But we see in chapter 3, they started to rebuild the altar first. They rebuild the altar first. Chapter 3, verse 1 to 6. In the first year, they took a year to settle down. And in the 7th month, in our own calendar, it could be the month September, October, they began the work. They started building the altar. And we see here in chapter 3, the people, the priest or the one who is wealthy, or all the people give what they have. Some give generously, that's what it says. They were overjoyed, they were being encouraged, they were being motivated, they were full of the Spirit to rebuild the temple. They were going to see again the Solomon's temple, and they were giving generously. Things were going well, smoothly. And after building the altar, they do sacrifice there. All the rituals will be going on. It's like when there's going to be a big project for the government, they lay the foundation first. It's like they build an altar, they're worshiping God, they're making the sacrifices to God before they start building the temple. And here they were going on. It was going on smoothly. But here when they started building the temple in chapter 4, it says, it started with verse 1. When the enemies of Judah and Benjamin heard that the exiles were building a temple for the Lord, the God of Israel, they came to Zerubbabel and to the heads of the families and said, let us help you. Let me help you. Let us give you assistance in building the temple. And they rejected that. And what after comes? They were threatened, they were intimidated, they were accused unjustly, political pressures came in, and it halted the building of the temple of Israel, but the people of Israel. For Zerubbabel and Joshua, the discouragement came to them so much that They halted the work of the building for 16 long years. That's what it says. For 16 years. The Bible does not describe what they were doing at that time. Zerubbabel, what he was doing in that 16 long years, it was not described. Imagine how the people were living in fear. The people were just being there without fulfilling their purpose for 16 long years. They were being discouraged. They were being threatened. They were being intimidated and accused unjustly. So many political pressures come in and halted the work. So today I would like to bring down 3 things from this passage, chapter 4, verse 1 to 5. How discouragement creeps into our lives. How does it creep into our lives? 3 things. The first one is comparison. The first one is comparison. When we look at chapter 3, verses 12 to 13. When they started building the temple, they were overjoyed. But all the elders, the senior ones, who have seen the glory, the splendor of the temple of Solomon, the first temple, they were discouraged. Because the temple that they're going to build is not the same as glorious, as big or as glorious as it was from before. So in chapter 3, verses 12, let me read it out for all of us, chapter 12. But many of the older priests and Levites and family heads who had seen the former temple wept aloud when they saw the foundation of the temple being laid, which many others shouted for joy. So when they started building, there were 2 kinds of emotion that is taking place. So the people were overjoyed, they were shouting with joy. The other groups are crying. So there are times when we compare with things in a negative way, not when we compare things in an unhealthy manner, it brings us discouragement. And discouragement creeps in easily. The older generation of these people of Israel, they were discouraged when comparing with the first glory of the temple and with the one that they're going to build. They were discouraged. That was once the thing that held them to complete the task that God has assigned them. But they forgot, they failed to remember that God is with them. It's not about the building. God, the God of Israel, the God who created the universe, was with them in the building of the temple. God is not concerned with the building, what materials they're using, how big will it be the temple. But God, what He longs for, what matters for Him is the attitude of the builders or the worshiper. So many a times we compare with so many things. Many a times for those who are studying theology, maybe when we went out for ministry, we might compare with some other churches, with some pastors or with some ministers. Their ministry is going on, they're doing this, they're going with that. We might compare with them, and that will cripple your ministry, our own ministry. But God has called us to fulfill the task in a capacity that we can do, that God has assigned us. Or for others as well. You could be compared with your co-workers in your workplaces, or students with your classmates, comparing. And also, I would like to bring this today. Let us not live in the past glory. Let us not compare with the present, with the past achievements. That is something that creeps in discouragement with our life. There should be a time when we enjoy our own achievements, and there should be a time when we come back low to the valley and move on as it is. Life is not static all the time. There are ups and there are downs. When we compare with the past glory with the present, there are times that gives us a lot of discouragement and failures. One is David, King David. King David, he was very fruitful with his leadership. At the peak of his leadership, he commit sin, that is adultery, and also murder. At that point of time, David, he was supposed to lead his army into battle. As a king, he was supposed to lead, but he was enjoying his success. At the time, sin creeps into him because he is not doing what he's supposed to do. He did not come back to the valley. He was still at the top, enjoying his glory, achievements, and sin creeps in. That fails him to do that. So I would like to remind us today, when we compare with others, when we compare with the past glory, there are things that is something that is ahead of us, could fail us and make us into sin and fall into temptation. As quickly, I would like to bring up the second one is compromising alliances or wrong friendship. Compromising alliances. When we see here in chapter 4, verse 1 and 3, the enemies of the surroundings, neighbors of the Israel, Jerusalem, they came forward to give an assistance to help them in constructing and building the temple. But they said no. But they came in a way that they say, we also worship the same God which we worship. Let me help you. They have different motives. There are things that it says, nowadays there are Christians whose actions clearly reveal they are using Christianity to serve their own interests. There are such as that. When they are, when we make a compromising alliances with such people, with such friends, they will be the one that bring discouragement to us. They will always try to pull us down. They will always be the one that distort the truth to us. They say, we also worship the same God. Let me help you. But the people of Israel, they have the power and authority that was given by King Cyrus, the powerful king at that time. The Persia kingdom was from Greece to Afghanistan, a huge empire at the time, a mighty king giving the edict and the permission to build the temple. In other words, he's telling them, construct the temple and restart the worship of Yahweh as soon as possible. That's what he gave that. And the people, the enemies, they distort the truth. We will also try to help you. That shouldn't be the way. We say the same thing in the Garden of Eden, where the truth was distorted, coming as a friend to us, to Adam and Eve. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, it says, God created man and male and female in his own image. That's what it says. In his own image, he created male and female. But in chapter 3, Genesis chapter 3, verse 4, Satan came in the form of a snake, and then tempted them. Eat that fruit, you will become like God. God has already created Adam and Eve in his own image. And Satan is the one that comes as a friend to them and distort the truth. The truth that has already been given by God, twisted it and make them fall into temptation. So when we compromise alliances or have wrong circle of friends, we will be tempted in different ways. And that discouragement can creep into your life and make us to fail in the purpose that God wants us to live. What did they do? What did the Israelites do when these false or their enemies came forward giving their assistance? They say, we will do by ourselves. That is said in verse 3. He said, you have no part with us in building a temple to our God. We alone will build it for the Lord, the God of Israel, as King Cyrus, the king of Persia, commanded us. Technically, they're not supposed to come and do that, because the king has specifically given the task to the people of Israel to go back and rebuild the temple of God. And here, the people of Israel, they knew that these people worship the Lord, but It is one among their many gods. They were worshipping many deities, many gods. The God of Israel could be one as one of their gods. They must be serving it. They were not serving wholeheartedly, and the people of Israel doesn't want them to be part of them, to take part in rebuilding the temple. And they say no to them. And we have such things. We have these things in our lives when we can say no to such compromising alliances or false friendships that comes to us and distort the truth to us. Quickly, lastly, the third one that I would like to bring out is discouragement can creep into our life through fear. Fear in chapter 4, verses 4 to 5. See, when the Israelites said no to their enemies, what did they do? They inflicted fear upon them. They were accused unjustly. They took the help of the political leaders of that kingdom and put pressure on them to stop building the temple. They inflicted fear upon them. This is one of the tactics that the devil used, the opposition party used to fail in our life. This is one tactics that we're not facing, or not only the people of Israel led by Zerubbabel. It has been there before them, and even now or in the future, this will be the tactic for the Satan to inflict fear in us so that we can fail in our life. What are the types of fears that we have? I was just searching it. And the most kind of fear that we have among the young people like us is fear of rejection. We fear that if I do this and do that, my friend will reject me, my community will reject me, my parents will reject me, my siblings will reject me. Fear of rejection. There are some who fear of future, fear of change, with someone who doesn't want to come out of their comfort zones, fear of taking up responsibility, fear of failures. There are some who are fear of imperfections. They want to be perfect all the time. They fear for that, and they cannot move on from there. There are some who fear public speaking. They cannot speak at all in front of others. There are so many kinds of fears that we have in our lives. And the same kind of fear that the people of Israel faced during their time. So fear is, what is fear? Fear will paralyze us. Fear will paralyze us so that we don't act at all. It paralyzes us. If we have some kind of fear in our lives, that will paralyze us from acting, from doing something. And so, the people of Israel halted for 16 long years because they were being discouraged. The truth was being distorted to them. At the same time, fear was inflicted on them, and they halted for 16 long years. But God has a plan. He sent Haggai and Zechariah as an encouragement to preach encouragement to the people of Israel and to give support to Zerubbabel and to Joshua to continue to restart what they have started 16 years ago. And that's how they complete the building. So, church, I would like to tell us today, remind us today, that discouragement will only make us to focus in our own problems. We will always focus in our own problems rather than focusing on God. It will make us to put our eyes on the things that we fear, on the things that it is not comfortable for us. Discouragement will always be there. And remember, in the beginning, I have mentioned in the story, Satan still have that tool to use in every one of us, and he will continue to use the same. But we have someone that is mightier than that. If we put our trust in God, if we look up to God, if we focus on God and rely on Him, we will be able to overcome that. In the same manner, Israel, when they focus on God, when they rely on God, they are able to complete the tasks that God has given them. So, church, I would like to end from here, reminding us again that discouragement can creep into our lives when we compare in an unhealthy manner, when we have compromising alliances, and also when we cannot overcome the fear that we have. And discouragement will always come in and make us to focus on own problems and paralyze us. And this is one of the tactics that Satan has been using in our lives in the past, in the present, and he will continue to use the same. But we have a solution, we have a remedy for that, that is God. And when we ask God to come into our lives, he will make our path straight. He will always reveal the good things to us to accomplish the thing that he has assigned for us. So church, may this word remind us of his goodness, his plan for us, rather than stopping and halting because of our insecurities. So may God bless all of us.